Hi, my name is Robin Wong. I'm a photographer based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I have with me the Nikon J1. In this video, I want to talk about why I think this is the best 1-inch compact you can get today for street photography. Let's do this! When I saw this Nikon J1 being listed in Carousel, a local used buy-sell marketplace, I couldn't help myself because I was genuinely curious about why this Nikon 1 system failed. This was Nikon's first venture into mirrorless system. It has a 1-inch image sensor. It features interchangeable lens camera system. Unfortunately, it didn't do well in the market. It received generally unfavorable reviews from photographers. And finally, Nikon discontinued this format. I'll make a separate video to talk about the failure of this Nikon 1 system. However, having used this camera for street photography, I do find myself enjoying this Nikon J1, and I want to share my reasons why I think this camera is just beautiful for street photography. I'm currently at Petaling Street downtown in Kuala Lumpur. We're going to do some POV photography with this Nikon J1 camera. And for the sake of discussion, let's keep it within the 1-inch format system. I know a lot of people will compare against Micro Four Thirds, APS-C size street photography camera like the Ricoh GR system, or even the Fuji X100 system, which is fantastic for street photography, I know. But if we keep comparing, then next we're going to have like Leica Q3 entering the discussion. We're going to have medium format, we're gonna have film cameras. The variation is just endless. So for the sake of discussion, let's just keep it within 1-inch. We have the Canon G7X series, we have the Sony RX100 series, we have the Panasonic LX10. We have so many 1-inch compacts out there, and I think this Nikon 1 system is perhaps one of the better options, and I'm sharing my reasons why. Reason number 1, interchangeable lens capability. The Nikon 1 system is the only 1-inch compact camera that allows you to change lens. I have it with me, the excellent Nikkor 18.5mm f1.8 lens that gives me an equivalent of about 50mm in focal length, which I really love for my street photography. All other 1-inch compact cameras have fixed lenses, and yes, some of them have very bright aperture like f1.8 to f2.8. That's RX100 series from Sony, or even the G7X series from Canon. But having the ability to change lens allows me to do a lot more, and there are no other options out there that gives me an equivalent of 50mm f1.8 with this lens. It's very natural for me to compose on the streets. I can do a little bit of street portraits. With f1.8 aperture, I can still blur the background, creating a little bit of subject separation. Reason number 2, quick and reliable autofocus system. This Nikon 1 camera system was the first to explore the hybrid autofocus using both the phase detection and contrast detection autofocus. This was way before Canon has the dual pixel, or before Sony had the hybrid autofocus for the camera system. While this is the earlier days of hybrid autofocus, I think Nikon's implementation is quite effective. The autofocus is fast, it is confident. I can find moving subjects, point a camera at them, and click the shutter button and nail that critical moment. And this autofocus being very quick and reliable, it really inspires confidence in me using this camera more for my street photography. Reason number 3, 60 frames per second burst sequential shot. Back in the day, this was the fastest burst rate of any camera system. We're talking about more than 10 years ago. And Nikon made it possible using the Nikon 1 system by implementing electronic shutter. They went full electronic shutter with this Nikon J1. This was the first camera in the world to not feature a mechanical shutter. I know this is a big thing in the Nikon Z8 and Z9 because those are flagship professional grade cameras. Everyone is talking about, wow, Nikon is so daring to remove the mechanical shutter, but they have already removed the mechanical shutter in this Nikon J1 more than 10 years ago, and look what they can accomplish. They can improve the speed dramatically to 60 frames per second, full resolution RAW, shooting with this Nikon 1 system. I know it's not fair to compare because this is only a 10 megapixels image sensor, this is an old camera, but still, it was really impressive what they've accomplished nonetheless. Reason number 4, solid build quality. I dare to claim that of all the 1-inch compact cameras that I've tested before, this Nikon 1 J1 feels the most robust. It feels really solid in hand, and it's built like a tank. It features metal construction, and I think in terms of construction, nothing comes close. I've tried the RX100 series from Sony, I've tried the LX10 from Panasonic, I've tried the G7X series from Canon. Yes, these cameras, they don't feel cheap, they're still very well constructed, but in terms of how rugged and how solidly built, they don't come close to this Nikon 1 camera. You just have to have it in your hand to know how solid this is. Reason number 5 why I think this Nikon J1 is the best street photography compact from the 1-inch format offering is the price. I admit that during launch, if you're paying for the full price more than 10 years ago, this is probably not the best option considering there are so many other camera options out there. But now, after 10 years, the price has come down so much. I've got this camera for about 200 ringgit for the Nikon J1 body, and the lens, I bought it separately. This 18.5 f1.8 lens, I bought for another 200 ringgit. In total, I spent 400 ringgit on this combination. That's less than $100 US. For that price, you cannot get anything similar like this in the market. Yes, you can get the Sony RX100, maybe RX100 Mark III, but it's still gonna cost about more than twice what this combination is asking for in the used market, and they don't give you 50mm f1.8 equivalent. You can't change lens, you can't shoot with 60 frames per second. There's a lot you cannot do in comparison to this Nikon J1. So I think in terms of price, what you're paying for today, you get a lot from this system, and 10 megapixels is still plenty of pixels to go around. The image quality is still fantastic, and I'm perfectly happy with what this camera can do. It is fun, and I think for street photography, using this 50mm equivalent lens, it is just a perfect combination. That's all I have to share about why I think that this Nikon J1 system is the best 1-inch compact camera for street photography. It allows you to change lens. I can use my favorite 50mm lens on this camera, and it is blazing fast in autofocus. It has the burst sequential shoot of 60 frames per second, which is still really respectable even today. The body is ruggedly built, and it only costs less than $100 for this combination. Have you used any Nikon J1 system camera before? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you've enjoyed looking at this video, if you found my sharing beneficial, or if you've enjoyed looking at my photographs, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal. Links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way. It will definitely help me to continue making more content and publish them right here. Until the next one, please go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye. Let me just point out the obvious that if you go out from the 1-inch format, there are many other options which can be better as well. The obvious one being the micro four thirds system. They offer larger image sensor, better advanced features, yet they still manage to keep the cameras rather small and compact. For example, the Olympus Pen Mini series or the Panasonic GM series. Small bodies, larger sensor, and wider lens selection. If you go to APS-C offerings, we have the Ricoh GR series, which are also very slim, very small, very compact. We have the Fuji LX100 series, which are excellent options for street photographers. But having said all that, these are outside of 1-inch format system. They will cost relatively more to get. Even the cheapest from micro four thirds, they'll still cost about twice what this combination is asking for. So in terms of price, in terms of staying within the comparison of 1-inch format, I still think that this Nikon J1 system has the best to offer for street photographers.